What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tech Backstage. My name is Eddie Hudson with my co-host Tullio Siragusa and a very special guest today, actually from Italy. I guess where you're from, Tullio, originally, but Francesca Gargaglia, COO of Amity. Welcome to the show, Francesca.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you. How you doing?
And you?
Awesome. I'm doing great. Tullio, how you doing?
We're broadcasting from three cities. We got Southern California, U.S. We've got Monterrey, Mexico. We've got Milano, Italia. I mean, come on. This is an international show over here.
Yeah. Three countries, two continents.
Cool, actually.
Yeah.
And at least three time zones, I bet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Well, it's great to have you on the show, Francesca. Really excited about this. I was off all last week. Tullio was handling hosting duties last week. But really excited about this. I love what you guys are doing at Amity. Love to talk a little bit more about it and like dive into, what you guys are doing right now. But first and foremost, love to hear a little bit about you and your journey to actually, co-founding and starting Amity.
Sure. So I don't come from a tech background. Actually, I have a very peculiar background for a tech founder because I went to law school as a lawyer. So I worked in a few international law firms and then I moved to consulting. And this allowed me to travel the world and live in different countries. One of my experiences abroad, I met Karawat, which is the founder and CEO of Amity. And at time, he was originally from Thailand. So at time, he was studying in the US, but he was thinking to move back to Thailand because they wanted to start a startup. So the original plan, the product that he originally built was an internal communication product, a chat piece, which is where everything started off. And I was really mind blown by his energy and he wanted to build something from scratch, and he was so focused and ambitious, and that's exactly what I was missing in my corporate job, working in where it was kind of difficult to have a tangible impact on your surroundings. So I met him. We stayed in touch for a few months, and then he kind of convinced me to to completely change my life, pack my stuff, and just move. So it was supposed to be, just a few months to help them with setting up the business and really, incorporating the company. So when I joined to take care about the legal aspect of it, and then we ended up co-founding a company together a year after, and Thailand for more than 4 years. So that's how Amity began. It was really an amazing ride and a lot of just taking opportunities and going with the flow.
Very
so
cool.
that's a bit about me.
I think it's safe to say that as a lawyer, you lost that argument.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And Tullio, I think she's actually from your old stomping grounds of PricewaterhouseCoopers as well.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Tullio, I didn't know.
Share that. Small world. It's a small world. So let's dive right into it because this is such an interesting topic today that we're talking about. I mean, I think just in short conversation with you guys are doing something so disruptive that I would say some of the giants probably should be worried about it.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe you could walk us through like that moment where you guys were sitting in Thailand and you had this, you know what, we need to do this. Like, what was that like? Can you walk us through that identification of the problem you guys were solving that immediately became the need to create?
is actually a very, a very interesting story. I love it, just because it's. So I told you before that at the beginning we were focusing on something slightly different from what we do. Product. So it was a chat product, actually very similar to what today is Slack, for example. So we built this platform, and we started to sell it to a few customers in Thailand. And one of our early adopters in Thailand is a company that is called True ID. So is a streaming company. They are actually a telco, but they also have a very popular streaming product, which is used by millions of people to have access or a lot of different sport events. So what was very interesting that they won the tender in 2018 to be the sole streamer in Thai World Cup. So they were very excited because they were thinking, wow, this is going to be really a surge in the number of people that use the product, because a lot of people are registered just because they want to watch the match, because in Thailand everybody's crazy about football. So they were really thinking, okay, sure that we differentiate our product and we make the viewing experience very engaging, right? We want to make sure that we are memorable. And the average age of the population in Thailand is very low. So there are a lot of young people. They wanted really to resonate with these people. So the goal was to make the viewing experience dynamic. So they want to allow these viewers not just to be passive in watching a game, but they wanted to enable them to comment, to send reactions, to engage with their friends, to follow the players potentially, right? So they had a very good strategy, but soon after that, they realized that they had a very short time and absolutely no experience, know-how, or all that sophisticated feature set from scratch. So they came to us and they told us, we're a communication product that you provide to us. And we realized that all these features that we would love to add to our own platform are in your product. So do you think it would be remotely possible to unpack this feature or to give them to us in an SDK format? So it actually plugged into our own tech. So this was something that we never thought about before. So at the beginning was like, oh, that's busy. I mean, we can try, but it really started off as a side project. So we spent, a couple of weeks with all our all these features and transform them into pre-built individual components, and we gave them just as an experiment as a team that actually really liked that and decided to use them during the World Cup. The result was incredible. They started off with this live chat, allowing all the concurrent viewers of the same game to chat. Than 500,000 people connected for each chat room every day. They deliver more than 2 billion messages per match. It was mind-blowing. So it went so fast that people love engaging with each other. We really live in the social revolution, right? And I think we realize that there is a great need to be able to add this type of features digital operated by company worldwide, but a lot of companies don't have the ability to do that by themselves. So we just started to, talk to all the clients in our network, just out of, doing a market research and really asking them, hey, have you ever thought about adding social features to your app? And everybody was like, oh, yes, we thought we don't know how to do it. Because, this feature set is actually extremely complex to build from. Even more complex to scale and to enlarge. So we have more than 160 time every day on actually making this product better and better. And many companies, not only they don't have the resources to do this, it them to do that if it's not their core business, right? Imagine, a retailer or a bank So yes, it's so after really realizing that that was a real need, we just decided to completely pivot a new company. So it was really listening to the feedback of the market and just going in that direction.
All right, let's keep
Awesome.
digging in a little bit more.
Yeah, I was actually I wanted to kind of piggyback off of like how you guys got started and talk a little bit about because you guys are more than just chat right now, right? You guys started
Absolutely.
off as chat, but now you have, you know, the video feature, the social feature, the bots feature, and I have about 1,000 questions that I want to ask regarding a bunch of other stuff. But I want to just kind of start off with, you know, so obviously, you know, around football, focused around football is when you guys were really starting to talk about moving that chat feature into the SDK. But was it kind of a natural progression for the rest of the features? Was it just kind of like, oh, we're missing all of these other features, or were those like additional requests from customers that you already had?
So okay, it again, True ID was our first customer. So these you know, streaming app, and their vision, we create a very strong relation with them. They are still one of our biggest customers to these days, and their vision was really to build Thailand super. So this is a very popular, you know, concept, particularly in Asia. So they wanted to become the #1 engagement platform, entertainment platform in Thailand. In order to achieve this vision, they really realized that they had to enable, you know, a broad array of social features. So partially towards, you know, enlarging, enriching our feature set, really started with True ID. And really trying to understand what they wanted to platform and working with them on the features that we believed they had a very high potential of also being sold to other customers because their market. So that's how we, you know, we started first with chat and all the communication to what became our second module that is called Amity Social. So Amity Social, it's really everything that allows you to transform a product into a social network, like liking and having user profiles and having discussion forums. And then we jumped into video, and then we jumped into bot. So it was we just really followed the market mostly.
Yeah, cool, very cool. And just out of curiosity, what, like, I'm seeing a lot of controversy around, you know, around larger social platforms right now, right? You know, we actually just had this conversation a couple episodes ago talking about data privacy and how I think I even saw something Facebook was, you know, basically even stating when they were doing some of their hearings with the U.S. government that, oh, we don't actually know where all of the data gets used within the organization, and they're like, so we couldn't even delete your data if we wanted to because we're not even sure everywhere that's at. And that's kind of scary, right, to think about. But I love the idea. Yeah, it's terrifying, right? But I love the idea that you guys have here, which is building social networks and building communities around companies and around products, right? And you know, like football, for example, is it's a shared interest. But do you see like social networking and social platforms becoming smaller, more module components, like smaller communities, because people are starting to realize that the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world, they're not really there to promote community engagement. They're there to suck up as much data as possible. So do you think we're moving more towards that smaller community feel?
I mean, I think that you really you're touching the core of it. It's think about, you know, social media a monopoly, and this is unquestionable. And in my opinion, monopoly is just the reason why there are, you know, so many regulations around the world to try to prevent that, right? So right now, you know that 80 that on average we spend online is spent on a platform that is owned by either Facebook or Google. Sorry, Meta today.
Right. Yeah.
let me correct that. So this is a huge portion of everybody, engagement and digital. So we are trying to correct this model. So we believe that right now, as users, more and more people are starting to understand that they only tech giants monetize by having us just spending as much time as we want as on firms, but there is no real value that is attached to that.
Right.
So I think that a lot of people are getting are starting to be more aware. There is this right of trying to find digital experiences that are a bit more curated, that are a bit more positive. So there is a trend in general for decentralization, and this is happening in industries. I mean, think about the Web3 and cryptos, and really going in the direction of having this niche community control. So we believe that a model where there are smaller communities where people are really passionate about something and they want to contribute and show a more positive model where interests are aligned compared to what you have on a gigantic platform.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What do you think? What's your view?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that, because too, let's just unpack what you're trying to do at Amity right now, right? So first and foremost, if you're a large platform like Facebook or Twitter, for example, what you're trying to do is you're trying to basically maximize shareholder value, right? So
Correct.
You're not actually concerned about user experience. I think there was something that I heard the other day, at all. But the thing that I always heard is if you're using a free product, you are actually the product. Because what they're doing is they're trying to suck your information and sell it to somebody else. But I think the way that you guys are doing it right now, first and foremost, it leads to better product development, because what you guys are concerned about as a company is curating the experience and building a product that actually promotes community. And then to your second point, the thing that I think that's really important is for example, on Facebook now, I stopped using Facebook years ago because being somebody that is from the US,
I wanted to ask you actually.
Yeah. It's my Facebook feed just turned into people trolling other people or Democrats and Republicans yelling at each other. And that's not what I'm interested in, right? I'm interested in F1 and music, and those are the communities I want to be involved in. So to your point, you're actually building more positive interactions by actually decentralizing it. And then that way people are actually able to kind of go where they want and talk about what they want. You know what I mean? Instead of just, having all of this dumped on them and forced upon them.
That's to create positive digital experiences and communities, right? So we want to enable anyone, small companies, associations worldwide, to be able to operate their own small, positive, niche social network, and giving the tech to do that very easy. And the reason why this wasn't happening before is because they didn't have the know-how and the technology to do that. To build the communities inside of a ready-to-use social network. So they were operating a Facebook group, or they were having a page, which is something that of course they can only curate and control up to a certain point, because and do whatever they want with that data, right? You will still see spam, you will see ads about everything you do, and that becomes a very, in my opinion, cranky and a bit risky experience to have.
Let's explore this a little further. So, when I think, not to pick on Facebook or anybody, but
they're gonna sue me after this.
Yeah, I think we're already there, Tullio.
They're just so easy to pick up. No, but when they first started, it did create something that gave people a sense of community where they can communicate and get to know each other and connect. And I was able to reconnect with childhood friends from a whole nother country, right? So it definitely created that. The challenge, though, is any real successful digitization that has happened has replicated the brick and mortar experience. What I mean by that is when you go to a store, you talk to people at the store that are there. You have a conversation about, so maybe someone notices an item they're interested in. You talk to a salesperson, or you talk to someone who might say, hey, I bought that item last week. I love that. It's a organic conversation that happens with people are there while you're there, right? So the concept of asking people to leave the store to go into another store to go talk about what's going on in that store is exactly what Facebook is. I mean, let's face it, right? So it's kind of reminds me of AOL. It was a closed garden, and then it died because the internet opened it all up, and makes you wonder why is Facebook going down this metaverse process, because they know that they're a closed garden and people want to actually be met where they are. So what I love about what you guys are doing, you're meeting people where they are, when they're there, and you're connecting people who are also there at the same time. I'm curious about the tech itself. How does that, how do you make that possible? Do people have to download a plugin, or does it happen natively in the browser? How do you facilitate that dynamic social networking in that moment where people are?
So our product, we are literally selling pieces of code, right? So SDK and a set of APIs that needs to be integrated with the client is using. So that requires a relatively easy integration process that can be completed in less than 2 weeks. The client doesn't require crazy customizations. So that's what we sell, and in order to enable really anyone immediately use the product without the need to invest too many resources, the product comes with an open source UI kit, which means that every choose different UI templates that can be immediately implemented. So what I love is that the product is that if you take 10 apps that are using our components, you will never be able to spot that component are provided by a third party are provided by the same company because they look so different, right? And the integration is so deep. So I think bricks, like pre-built things that can be painted and can be
right.
create a bigger structure. So that's how Amity works, and this can be done in a very short time. So that's the benefit also for the.
I love it. So if anybody has a question for Francesca, just put it right in the comments in the stream, wherever you're watching us. We'll see it and we'll post it and we'll ask Francesca. So just wanted to follow up on that. Today, one of our recap blogs for Tech Backstage came out that talked about the dilemma between marketer data, privacy, and really the value of zero-party data, right? So is this also enabling zero-party data for those customers who enable this? Because essentially, in order for you to engage, how do they do that? Do they share some information about them? Do they opt in to do that? Does it also enhance their ability to get zero-party data?
So it does for sure, because of course the amount of data that are captured are definitely smaller than the ones that are captured in a social network, because the set of activities and topics and conversations, it's actually limited, right? Community, so a certain kind of topics, but in general it really depends. So the reality is that it depends on which app and in which digital platforms our features are integrated to, right? Because think about it needs to be and it can be anything. So it can be your insurance app. For example, in the US, we are working with very big hospitals. So these already have credentials, right? So there are certain data that are already, recorded in their database under all the applicable regulation, because we are talking about a very sensitive, industry, very sensitive set of data. And what they used our features for is enabling to communicate with each other when they are, in the same hospitals because they are undergoing similar treatments, receiving support from doctors and having discussion forums with nurses. And this is an idea that they had during COVID, because during COVID, during the making COVID moments, patients tend to feel very lonely because they couldn't, receive visits from their relatives. So they wanted them to feel part of a community. So imagine, like, here, of course, there are data, right? But these data are not, are just the engagement data, because in terms of users' data, they were already them, and that Amity will anyway touch or use. So in the great majority of cases, users have already an existing log user ID in the application, and they already decided to, disclose with the company, with the owner of the application, certain amount of data for a different purpose, that a patient, or because you want to be a client of that company, or you're banking with that company. So that's, Amity really doesn't touch that piece. Course of protecting more users' data, because they don't have to share it with any unrequested third party, and Amity function doesn't request the user to share confidential data with us.
Yeah. No, and I think that's
everybody should have this. Every company should have this.
I agree.
Well,
thank you, guys. I really hope.
What's the what's the model? I mean, do you charge per instant? How does that work? How do you guys make money at
so
this?
we charge based on engagement, which I believe is a very, because the integration of our features is free, right? You can take our modules, you can, plug them into your product, and you can see how your users react. The more users engage with the feature set that we provide in a calendar month, the more we pay. So the customer is, the more the client pays. So they come monthly active users. And for monthly active users, we don't mean, the general users of the app, but only those who engage with the Amity. So what I personally like about this model, and users like as well, is that it's very democratic, right? If the feature is really adding value and likes it, then of course we're going to get paid for it. But in this way, we also have a very, strong in making sure that the app is successful, that the community works, that our product is functioning well and is well integrated, because very simple. Otherwise we don't get. So I believe is good, like there is some balance.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, I'm actually on your pricing page right now. I think this is a very, very fair plan. And I love the monthly active users, right? Because people are only paying for, engagement, right? That if nobody's engaging on the site, then they're not paying for those people. So
Value-based pricing. Pricing. Love it.
Well, that's the way to go, right? Like, Tullio, I always talk to you about this, is like, just like I love the user-based and the value-based model, because if it truly adds value to your business, you're going to pay for it. And then all of a sudden, you're like us, and you end up at this place where you're spending, tens of thousands of dollars a month in software because you need it to like literally function.
And guys, what I like about it is that there is no, very big cost, initial cost, right, or setup cost. So it's something that can be done, in a relatively easy way, and you can just plug it to your product and try. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, forget about it. So of course, our expectation and hope is that the customer sees a lot of value. But there it works or it doesn't, right? So we don't have to go and beg the customer to actually make a big purchase without having or seeing any result. So if there is an ROI, then they will immediately see the value. Otherwise, no point. They won't pay.
Yeah. No, I think you guys are doing it right. I love the SDK API model as well. I think that's You know, I'm a huge supporter of modern technology, and you know, everything's going towards that integration, right? So like,
sure, that's the future.
that's the future, right? Is being able to integrate different services together. So I think your value based pricing, the fact that you're using SDKs and APIs to allow people to integrate it in the way that they want to integrate it to into their application, and not saying like, oh no, you just have to drop it in here and forget about it. Like I love the fact that there's, you like you said, you can use your free open source UI components, or they can go out and heavily customize it, but it's a low barrier to entry. And I think that's the most important thing to get people, you know, hooked on a good product, right?
I think you guys are on to.
Yeah.
It is freedom, and I think you're also there is going to be a debate, I believe, between where do people want to spend their time, in a virtual reality or in real life, and actually mimic real life as best as possible. And that debate remains to be answered. But it seems as though what you guys are doing, it is making it possible to meet your customers or your audience where they are. They're there already. You might as well engage them and get them to engage with each other. So to me, it just seems like that's truly the future of social engagement versus going into a closed garden, and worse, going into a virtual reality when nothing is real. So, but we'll see what happens. So we're up on time. We could talk about this for hours.
Oh yeah.
Topic. But you know, what's just one final question, Francesca? You guys have been at this for some time, building this. You're getting some traction. You're focusing on worldwide markets or just the US? What's your target market?
Yes, we are focusing actually on worldwide market. We have different offices of Asia, and now we expanded in the US and Europe. So again, you know, the product is almost self-serve. It doesn't require, you know, staff in every country in the world. So we really have the ambitious vision of being business.
Well, we're happy to have had you with us. I am curious to see how you guys design all the pricing models and things like that. Maybe we'll have you back for a design thinking segment that we do, where we'll dig in a little bit more specific.
Oh, we'd love that.
Yes, because I'm curious how you guys informed all that. I'm sure there's a lot of lessons and a lot of great things to glean from that. So we'll have to make sure we have you back. Carlos will make that happen. And speaking of Carlos, please, Carlos, come back and tell us what's coming up for the rest of the week. Francesca, thank you for being with us. Stay with us as we go off the air in just a second for wrap up.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Mute yourself.
Carlos, you're on mute.
Yes. Noises from the outside have the worst timing.
Yeah.
Bear with me, in case you're hearing
something
going on out there.
You're good.
So, all right, thank you. So we have two more shows this week. One Thursday, this will be with Andrew Zek, the CTO of Saucy. Finally, on Friday, it'll be with Marcus Wesden, the general manager at PAR Data Central. That's what we have right here on Tech Backstage, Thursday and Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning, a.m. Pacific time. I'm sorry. So join us, don't miss it, and see you then.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again soon.
Bye, y'all.